Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to another Prepare to Repair show, which is powered by RJ Graham Plumbing and Ferguson Supply, which is located at 7950 West 185th Street in Tinley Park. They are your kitchen, bath, and lighting showroom. Whether you're looking for a minor facelift or a full kitchen and bath remodel, Ferguson has you covered. Joining me on today's show is Mr. James Spurney with Hart, Travers Associates, who are a manufacturer rep for Zoeller Pump Company. Hey, James, how you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we are going to talk sump pumps. And a lot of people are going to think, well, I don't have a sump pump, or why would I even worry about a sump pump? I could just go buy one. And we're going to go into... We're not going to overcomplicate things, but we're going to go into a little bit of detail of that there's a little bit more to it than just running down and buying the biggest pump you can buy and throwing it in and, okay, great, it should work. And that's just not how it works.
Yeah.
So we're going to go into a little bit of detail, but before we get started, tell us a little bit about, who Hart Travers is and what you do.
Yeah, so we're a rep agency. We have about 12 lines where we rep different manufacturers. Myself, I started in this industry in 95, and I started selling pumps back then.
Okay.
So I've been dealing with pumps for a long time. There's a poster at the United Center by one of the urinals, and it's a picture of a plumber, and he goes, I could talk about sump pumps all day. I'm great on first dates. And I took a picture of that because it is the most boring thing in the world. My wife hates it. But no, it's one of the things I've been passionate about in our whole industry. I do focus a lot on that market. I've been to a bunch of different manufacturers out there. And like I said, we're protecting the health of the nation is what plumbers do.
Right.
And I teach, classes and training classes, and I'd always throw that out there. I go, if you got mold or sewage or something coming from your basement, those are all bad things. So, if your pump fails, and it's vitally important in keeping things, sanitized and healthy, a good place to live in. No one wants a flood. No one wants any water there. So what we do, like I said, we have a bunch of lines with Zoeller. They've been around 80 plus years. Old family company out of Louisville, Kentucky. Still a union shop. Really the only 100% domestic built brand. They do have some products that are actually imported, but their main line that you see, all their green product is 100% domestic built.
Okay.
Here. So, in having worked with other pump companies, just very pleased with what they have. They're proud, like I said, good old union shop, and, made here in the United States, still a family company, which is rare and rare these days.
Yeah, usually once they get to a certain point, they sell off. But, I want to touch on what you said. Most people don't care about their plumbing or some pumps until it tells you need to worry about me. It's out of sight, out of mind. It's often taken for granted. Yep. And that right there is something that I always stress, especially on the show and to my customers, that you want to be proactive with this. You don't want to be reactive, because when you're proactive with your plumbing, with just basically a lot of your maintenance, you're dictating how things work, especially with your pumps. If you're proactive and you're checking it out and you're educated on the life expectancy, what your home is actually doing, so you're getting the proper products for the proper application, which we talked about this off the air, proper application, you are going to get the best performance out of that product. It's going to last long. And then this way you're going to get that peace of mind. Everything is protected, and you can enjoy your basement. You can enjoy, basically everything functions the way you need it to. So that's why, I wanted to have, because I call them Zoeller. I don't know, maybe, am I doing it wrong?
It's technically Zoeller, but even Fuzzy Zeller is related to that family. So Zoeller, Zeller, whatever you want to call it.
The golfer's related to the Zoeller Pump family?
Yeah. I mean, he's from that area, very loosely.
Okay.
It's distant cousins, but yeah, it's the same.
Wow.
The same family, through separate relations. But yeah, there's a lot of them down there in Louisville right there. Yeah.
Okay, so I pronounced it wrong all along.
I did too before I started working for him.
Okay.
So it's not in Chicago.
And you didn't even correct me either.
No, in Chicago, most people call it Zoeller.
Because we have a different way of speaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Midwestern accent, if you will. So
yeah.
But now, how long you been associated with Zoeller Pumps?
So I worked with them. I've been back with them for 5 years, and I worked with them for 8 years. I've actually worked with them, and then I repped Aquanaut before Zoeller bought them back in the 90s for another 4 years.
Okay,
and I bounced around to some other pump companies.
Okay, well, I've installed Zoeller. That's going to be tough to do. I call them
either
Zoeller.
way.
So I'm going to call them Zoeller. That's just what it is.
Whatever flows off your tongue.
Exactly. I've been installing them for 20 years, over 20 years, and they have been durable. I think the oldest one I pulled out, I think, was probably 18 years old, and it was still going. So I mean, they've been durable. Their price point is really competitive with everything else that's out there, all the other products that are out there, and they have a simple design that has been time tested. And I mean, that's why I like them. It's not that, because there's some plumbers out there or some that I like to buy exclusive products, or I like to buy something where nobody can get them. And no, I just have always installed them. They had a reputation before I got into the business. You said 80 years, and they've always been good. I mean, I think when we were talking off the air, I had 1 year where I got quite a few back, and which was kind of frustrating. But I looked at it as 20 years of doing this, and this is what I got. I mean, like I said, every dog has their day. You are going to have a product that has some issues. They're going to have their ups and downs, but for the most part, I will tell you, Zoeller has been very, very durable, reliable, and it is my go-to pump. So I mean, I'm glad. That's why I was glad to have you here. Now, that's my next question was, I stated my opinion. What do you think makes Zoeller stand out above the rest?
I think a lot of it is the quality control and the actual manufacturing process that they have there. If you go to the plant, and you're more than welcome to come there, we can take a trip down to the plant down in Louisville. But the way that they audit...
Do they give away like little prizes? Like, can I have some like pumps when I leave?
Yeah. We'll give you the squeezy pumps. You get to build an M53 while you're down there. It's pretty exciting.
So wait a minute. I'm going to go down there and give them free labor?
Absolutely. Well, you work, like it's only 9 hours you got to work, and then we'll go and we'll give you, a little stipend. No, there's just a little area.
Is there food involved?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, we could go to Churchill Downs. We'll go see the ponies. So
there you go. Okay. Sounds like a plan.
But just like watching the manufacturing process, every pump is water tested.
Okay.
But they go and do full audits on every segment of pumps. It depends which it's running, but maybe after every 6. So if there is something that is found wrong with that pump,
okay,
they go and pull that layer because they know the layer is there. They go and pull that layer and they go stop the line and check for anything. And that's how they water test everything, but that doesn't always show anything. So they do a full audit on, every 10 pumps, we'll say, in this line. And just to make sure that problems don't get out of hand. I like that. They have a bunch of calipers. They have a whole machine shop that just recalibrates all their measuring tools to make sure everything's coming off the molds right. There's a lot of care, and there's a lot of, from start to finish, very inspiring, on seeing that, because, my reputation's on the line, too, selling this product. I get just the same angry calls you'll get.
Exactly. Well, I mean, a lot of people have heard about Zoeller pumps, and, so they know the reputation that they have. So when I put one in, and I tell people when I'm putting in pumps or just anything, they're mechanical. They are made by humans, so they do have a margin of error. They can have a failure rate. The idea is how low that failure rate is, and we try to stick with products that have very high durability and low failure rate, and have great warranties. And Zoeller has all of that. It has, it's very reliable, and they're durable. They have a low failure rate, and they have really good warranties, 3-year warranty on them. And that is, a lot of the other the competition has that as well. I think maybe that's industry standard, but
it's become that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but I like it because it's a reliable product that you don't really have to use that warranty, that you know it's there. But what I do with the ones we install is Zoeller gives a 3-year warranty. We give a 3-year labor warranty. So we handle all that. And the reason why I do that is because this way I handle the return process with the supply house. And I don't think we'll go into it at the end of the show or look towards this as the show goes on about how the warranties work, and they can get a little frustrating. I think that's but again, it's the product is durable, and they want to make sure that if there is something with the product, they're fixing it. So they want to make sure that the warranty is actually a warranted product.
Absolutely.
But let me ask you this. Where can people buy Zoeller pumps? I know I buy them from a supply house.
Yeah, I mean, primarily it is through plumbing supply houses. Most everyone, Ferguson's one of our big supporters of it. Most of the plumbing supply houses across the Chicagoland market have them in stock. And you did like mention with online. Ferguson, you could buy them online from because they're an actual distributor. Power Equipment Direct is another one that would be on there that you could buy online and have it actually certified and warranted by. That they're actual. But ideally, you're going to try to buy it from a plumbing wholesale.
Right. So, well, that's what I was going to ask you, because I remember talking to another rep. This was, I want to say last year sometime. And that was one of the things, because I see them online where people, just go online and buy one. And I was like, I'm seeing some of these I've never seen these sites before. And you're buying this stuff, and how do you get your warranty? Because, I mean, if you go to and I'm going to actually now have to get into the warranties, but if you buy this product and you have an issue with it, okay, great. You take it back to the supply house. Or you're going to take it, send it back, where you just ship it back. You don't have a pump while you're shipping this back.
Yeah.
So if you have an issue with it, you're going to go local. Well, you go to take this, and what happens if they're not seeing this, or this is not a Zoeller product? Because I heard that some of the stuff that people were getting online, they were remanufactured, and they weren't actually warranted Zoeller products. Yeah. So, and that is something to look out for, because you're not getting an actual product. You're listening to the Prepare to Repair show here on WJOL 1340. I am Plumber Steve, and joining me is James Spurney with Hart, Travers Association. Associates, and we're talking Zoeller pumps. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to get back with warranties on how to go about that with Zoeller. Welcome back to the Prepare to Repair show. I am your host, Plumber Steve with RJ Graham Plumbing. Back with me is Mr. James Spurney with Hart, Travers Associates, who is a manufacturer rep for Zoeller Pump Company. And before the break, we were talking about Zoeller pump warranties and how they're, and what the reason why they do them that way. Now, their pump, the way they do their warranties is you take it back to the supply house, and what happens is you usually, correct me if I'm wrong on this, you would have to basically buy a new pump or whatever component you had, you have to buy it, and then what would happen is they would send it to Zoeller. The supply house would send it to Zoeller. Zoeller would send a credit to the supply house, and then the supply house would in turn credit you back. So, and they do that. So, why do they do that?
So, I mean, the main reason with that is, one, we want to take a look at everything,
right? And
we have to inspect it to see what the issue is. Because if we're having a problem out there, how do we know? And if we're getting defectives back, we need to have that to actually go and investigate and see what the issue is.
Right.
The other is, just through the proper channel, to make sure people are buying it through the proper channel. We had the long tagline for a long time was Zoeller pumps that the pros use, and we wanted professionally certified contractors being the ones to install it. But so we got to make sure the applications are right, because sometimes the applications are wrong. So sometimes it's abuse, sometimes it's simple things. No one wants defectives.
Oh,
we don't want it defective.
Yeah.
If I sell you a pump that's defective, it wastes your time going out there. We want to correct all the problems that we can, because it's a waste for all of us and makes the homeowner upset, or too. So
right. Well, the thing is also too is, I think you were mentioning it, is you have a lot of people buying and selling, and if I buy a pump and I sell it to somebody under just me, Steve, and I sell it to somebody, well, okay, and I ship it out to somebody, they're not going to get the warranty. I mean, if it gets broken during shipping, they're not going to get that warranty.
No.
So I mean, they're not protected. So I would recommend, if you're going to have a pump installed, a Zoeller pump, have a licensed contractor do it, because then this way, if there's a warranty on it or any issues with it, they handle the warranty. You're not going to have to buy a new pump or do anything like that, because they should be able to handle it, because we got the receipt.
Yep.
When we buy a pump, we've got the receipt. It pretty much matches in line with the date code, so we can prove when we bought it. We buy so many of them, they'll be able to see that. So it's pretty much, it's constantly getting pumps, if we do have a return, it's just accredited to us. So so the homeowner doesn't have to have any kind of headaches with that.
Yeah, and a homeowner themselves coming in to handle it with a plumbing supply house, if they didn't buy it, it makes it very difficult to look up and to, it's just easier to have the contractor take that, and that's part of the service you're providing.
Exactly.
As being their contractor, that's part of what they're paying you for, and that's what makes you a good company that people would want to come back to.
And not only that, but if you say you have a homeowner who buys the pump and they have it shipped, so say, for example, just for argument's sake, I buy a pump and I send it to some guy in, say, North Carolina. I ship it out to him, and I've had that pump for maybe 3 months. And you had that shipping, so this thing could probably be 6 months out of the warranty. So then he goes and installs it, and this thing fails, and he's thinking, well, I have a 3-year warranty from the time I bought it, which theoretically he's thinking it's when he bought it from me. And that's not the case, because what would happen is Zoeller would go from the date tag, correct?
Yes, we go from the date tag. There is a little on there. It's technically 3 years from date of install.
Right.
So we need proof of the install, which is very difficult. That's why, as a contractor, if you have it, you can give me your ticket that I installed it on this day.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. So if a homeowner has an issue, we can get something saying, okay, well, it has a date tag of, say, July 1st, but we have it in our stock and shipping, so we installed it, say, August 1st. All right, well, okay, that you guys would take care of that. You guys would, it would be covered under warranty. So, I mean, that would make sense, because, I mean, a lot of contractors carry a stock of these. Right. We would have some too. So, I mean, we do that. So that makes sense. So, I mean, just to give an idea of, when people, I want them, when they're buying something, to understand where they're buying it from and be conscientious of who they're buying it from. So that couple dollars you may save, it's really not going to save anything. You're better off just going, if you're going to buy it from a contractor, and if you're not going to buy it from a contractor, buy it from a supply house. This way or a reputable dealer too, so you've got your warranty. This way you're covered. It's too much money to spend and risk, and then you're aggravated with the company and everybody else, and when the process could have been streamlined.
Yeah. And it's not the type of thing, when I talk about pumps, I don't want a wet basement.
No.
I don't want to pay an insurance premium. I don't want to have a company come out and clean it. I don't want to ruin the old family pictures. Like you mentioned earlier, it's hidden and it's far away.
Right.
And no one pays attention to a pump until you have the problem. Then it becomes a high priority.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it's like you go down there and you're squishing around in water. And one thing I like is when people say, well, I don't need a backup pump because I got a generator. I said, okay. Do you know a lot of pumps fail when they had power, right? What do you have that's telling you that this has failed or there's an issue? The battery backup, it does exactly that. It gives off an alarm letting you know, hey, I'm working, and it also pumps So you have time to figure out what's going on and whether it is power, whether it is too much water, or the primary pump died. So it gives you that kind of help and assistance, and also peace of mind going, if anything happens, I've got two there that are covering me.
I preach redundancy with pump systems.
Oh, absolutely.
Because something's going to happen. So be it a backup, second, however you have it set up,
right?
I just preach it.
Oh, yeah. You need to, because once that water comes in, and your sump pit, which takes in groundwater, is uncontrolled water. That's just going to keep coming. Your ejector pit, which is going to take, and if you have a bathroom in the basement, it's going to take sewage. Or if you have a laundry sink, or just even you might even have just a floor drain, that's gray water.
Yep, and you can control it.
And you can control that, because you can just not run water in that drain until you can get it fixed or replaced. So there is control, and you have to use the right product for the right application. And I always say, when we're looking at pumps, people always go, and you're going to say something about this, I know you are. I want a 1 horsepower pump. I got my basement, I want a 1 horsepower pump. What's your discharge? Discharge is the pipe coming out of the pump itself. Oh, it's 1.5 inches. Okay. So what's wrong with that?
Yeah. I mean, the horsepower is not how we determine things. And I get this across the board on commercial jobs. And
why not? Why doesn't it do it?
Because horsepower.
I'm going to let you tell, because I say this and people think I'm trying to sell them something.
It depends on how a pump is actually built and what its application is built for. Go real simple. We have a sewage ejector. We have a sump pump. There may be a grinder pump. They're all kind of designed for different performance cycles, right? So not to get too complex, but there's pumps that will pump higher and farther at a 0.5 horsepower than they will at 1 horsepower. But the 1 horsepower may move more gallons. So finding what your duty is, what you actually need to pump, is very key. And so the horsepower is a lot of smoke and mirrors too, just with manufacturers in general, because a lot of times, especially when you get to the bigger pumps, they're all the same motor. They're all technically the same housing and motor. The impeller size, how they trim what's actually moving it, is what determines the horsepower. So when you get into these bigger pumps, they just trim it down and it gets rated down. But it's actually the same pump. It's the same pump. So you try to hit your duty cycles there, which is probably way too complex to get into like all of that sizing. But for residential applications, we like to see around 35 gallons per minute, like 10 foot ahead, because that's where your average coming out, so on your residential.
What is head height?
So it's a combination of things, but it's literally how high it's pumping and how long it's pumping. Okay. So if you're going up 8 feet, and then you have a 90, which takes away another, that's going to calculate like any of your check valves and bends, or to calculate it, and then to how far it goes until it starts going into gravity, and then it just drains out. So it's that ratio there from the base of the pump to basically the top of the pipe and however far long it's going.
Okay. So basically, the best way I describe pumps and what they do is, a pump is not made to push water. A pump is made to take water, lift and throw. Lift and throw. That's what it is. It's got that one motion that's, lift and throw. Yep. And then at that point in time, it flows away. So that when that pump is in that pit, it needs enough power behind it to lift it up, that height that it needs to be lifted up, and sent out to where it can drop, like you said. Lift it up, sent out where gravity can hit. So that means when it's pumped up, it hits that horizontal where it's leaving the house and drops into the discharge line. Yep. And that is where people have a lot of issues come wintertime, is that pump is designed to lift and throw, and they have it going into the small little corrugated hose, and that freezes up, and that pump is lifting. It has nowhere to throw. What happens when you're lifting something and nobody grabs it from you and you're not prepared for it? You wrench your back. Well, the pump starts burning itself out. Yep. We run into that a lot of times in the winter, where people do that. Also, if the discharge line is full or there's an issue with it, and that pump is constantly running outside and nobody knew about it, and it's running right down into the drain tile, and it's just running right back into the pit and constantly cycling water. So what you're doing is that, imagine just constantly throwing. It would be frustrating. It's like digging a hole. Every shovel you take out, you got 2 shovels coming back in.
It's like watching a Tom and Jerry cartoon.
Exactly. It's going to frustrate you. So it's getting an idea of, in layman's terms, of what you're trying to avoid so you can make sure the product lasts longer. And I say the application because a lot of people think, well, I'm going to go, some pumps are easy to put in. Okay, they are. I mean, they're not, if you're pretty handy, they're not all that difficult to install. But getting the right one. And if you're going to go, if you need to ask all the questions to get the right one for the proper application, then you might want to go the extra step and just have somebody put it in and let them own it.
Because you may not remember a weep hole.
What's a weep hole? See, now you're throwing common sense in it, man.
But I mean, that is something that's overlooked when people are installing it, and that creates a lot of problems.
Right,
because people don't have it.
Right, because the weep hole is designed to to minimize any kind of vapor lock.
Yep.
So
people are like, what's vapor lock? How does this even happen? And that's why you have to know all the little tricks.
Right. Because pumps are designed to pump water, not air.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have air in the line, it's not going to work.
It just won't. It won't.
No. So, and that's, again, it's knowing all these little things, and your pump could work. You can get a pump, and it will work.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not the right application, it won't last long.
Correct.
And then what will happen is I'm going to get myself a Zoeller pump, and I'm going to put it in this application. And then, I wouldn't get a Zoeller pump. Why? Well, I'm only getting 2.5 years out of it. They're not very good pumps. Hold on. What are you using it for? And when you realize that you're getting so much water that you need a heavier duty pump, then you got the wrong application.
Mm-hmm.
It's not sized properly, and you got the wrong application. You went with the price, well, this is the cheaper one, it's a Zoeller, it should work. No. And it's getting the right product.
Yeah.
And again, your discharge line also means a lot. You can have your 1 horsepower pump, but if you're going through an 1.5-inch pipe, how much water can you throw through a 1.5-inch pipe?
Ideal and perfect application, maybe 75, but in general, it's going to be about 50 gallons.
Yeah. So,
and if you're getting something that's moving 120, you're throttling it down by.
Exactly.
You're doing nothing for your system.
Yeah, I got a Porsche that I'm able to drive through city traffic at 20 miles an hour.
Yep.
So
it's actually worse for the pump too.
Exactly. It's not able to do what it needs to do. So what is the most popular pump, would you say, is the most popular seller of Zoeller pumps?
It's the M53.
Right.
Without,
That's a standard pump we put in.
It is an industry standard out there.
Yeah. And the other system we install is the 508 that goes along with that. It's the combo pack that we install with that. And that is a very good dual system that does the job. It really is like I said, it's a standard.
Yep.
And I couple that with the gel AGM battery, which is, I love them because they're sealed. You don't have to add water to it. You don't have to play around with it. Last thing you want is, because most of these are in a basement where it's a family room, and if you got kids down there, the last thing you want is little things where you have to add water to a battery and open it up.
And no one remembers.
Yeah, nobody. Well, when they hear the alarm go off. Yeah. Do you really want to play around with acid? Nobody wants to do that. Yeah. So those are. We've got the M53. We're going to talk about warranties on that. We're going to take a quick break here on WJOL 1340. The Prepare to Repair Show. Welcome back to the Prepare to Repair Show. I'm your host, Plumber Steve, back here on the Prepare to Repair Show with James Spurney with Hart, Travers Association, the awesome rep from Zoeller Pump Company. And before the break, we were talking about the most popular line that Zoeller has, which is the M53 model. And we kind of went in a little bit about the M508 or the 508 system that is a battery backup system that usually goes along with that type of system. They sell them in pairs, and you can also buy it individually, and the gel batteries. Now, what is the life expectancy of we know the warranty is 3 years. What is the life expectancy of a pump, of some pump?
So between 7 and 10 years is what we generally project. It does depend on usage. I'm a person that around 5 years, I like to go and replace my pumps.
Okay.
Just because I don't like gambling with it. But even Zoeller, they said under average terms, 7 to 10 years is the average life expectancy on it.
Okay, I got another question for you, and this is kind of just me asking. And I've had customers ask this. Do they recommend replacing, like say the switch goes, but the pump works, do they recommend replacing the switch?
You can. In most cases, by the time you get the switch and the labor and everything, it's almost cheaper just to buy a new pump and restart your whole warranty.
Yeah, that I know about.
But we have replacement switches.
Yeah.
Most people don't do that. It's just how society has evolved.
Right.
A lot of people just end up replacing the whole thing. Right. But it is available.
Yeah, we don't, because the reason being is by the time you go and do that, the effort that you have, it's literally one more step to put a pump in. But also, you can go through the trouble, replacing the switch, putting everything back together, and 3 months later, that pump dies.
Yeah.
At least if you know that's something you can't guarantee. That's a variable that you can't account for. You can't account for a new pump with a warranty, because then I can do that and you're good to go. You've got peace of mind. So, and I was asked, because I get people that ask, well, can't you just replace the switch? You can. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. It's not good money spent. It's a gamble, and it's better. You can go with a sure thing, which is just replacing the pump and you have a warranty. So I usually say about 4 to 7 years on it, based on.
I prefer that.
Yeah, I say that just based on, because of the depending amount of water you get, and there's so many variables. Like we were talking, it's like, I've had people say, well, my other pumps lasted for a long time. This one, is dying. And they're blaming the pump. They're not as good as they used to be. Come to find out, there's an outside source that's causing it, like they had a broken water line, or their sewer line was broken. It was running more than it should, or there was a discharge issue. So there were other things at play that led to that. But for the most part, under normal applications, it's going to operate within that 4 to 7 year period.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good life expectancy for it. Like I said, that 5 is where I start getting there.
Right.
I just start any more than that, just with the wear and tear.
Right. And then, what I say is and I use kind of like, you've got the bell curve, which means if the pump runs too much, it's not good. Also, on the other side of it, if it doesn't run that much, it's not good. You need that little part where it's getting exercise, because it's kind of like if you run all the time, and it's like you're running marathons all the time, that's the example I use, you're going to have wear and tear on your body. By the same token, if you sat on the couch and you never ran a marathon in your life, and you decide, I'm going to run a marathon, again, you're not going to do it.
Nope.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to work out well. So you have that bell curve where you want it to run and get the exercise and have the activity it needs, but not run too much and not run too little. And I know people are like, well, if it doesn't run, it shouldn't get burnt out. It can get gummed up with rust and things like that.
It's the same as an automobile.
Exactly.
You wouldn't just let it sit there for 2 years and then go and fire it up and expect it to run properly.
Everything just it gums up. Now, the other models you have, the M98, which is the half horsepower.
That's the big brother of the M53. That's our second most popular pump out there. So it's a half horsepower. It is all cast iron also. The base of it is all cast iron. So it's a little bit beefier of a pump.
And that application would be, what would you recommend that for?
Higher water tables.
Okay.
People who get more, you've got some areas you dig down and it's dry. And actually even the basin, I moved a year ago. In the new house I moved into, my pump never runs, never gets wet. My old basement was constantly there. I was on a higher water table. It just happens to be where I'm at now. I don't see any water. So you don't need as much there, but there's a lot of people, like my brother had a house and he was in an aquifer and was constantly running.
Wow.
So you needed, it was a constant running thing. And you just couldn't water chooses where it's going to go, and it kept on draining that into his pit. So you need to be able to move more, especially when you're talking about a heavy rain.
Right.
When you already have high groundwater and then you have the heavy rain, you want to get it as farther away as you can, with your upgraded pump.
Right, and the lifespan you would say is probably around the same for all the pumps.
Yes, yeah.
And this one has a higher gallons per minute based on obviously the head height as well.
Yes.
So all of them are pretty much rated like that.
Yes, correct.
So so the M98. So if you're looking for the half horsepower, the M98 would be the next one you step up to. And if you wanted one with a higher warranty, like say a third horse with like an extended warranty, you've got the M63.
Yep.
Which is the
it's the I try to explain it this way. You have Ford Explorers.
Yeah.
And then you have the Cop Ford Explorer.
Okay.
And the Cop Ford Explorer has a tougher transmission. It's got better shocks. It can take a little bit more of a beating. And that's what the 63 is to the 53. We have different seals, higher end seals on everything. Cast iron impeller. It's all cast iron body. Different switching mechanism that's even rated for longer life on it. Okay. We have a nice green lit plug on it too.
I like that. So we've installed quite a few of those. So we like them because, like I said, you have that light. A lot of people like that.
Yeah,
it's a nice touch. Now the model for the half horsepower, did they make one like that?
It's an M95.
M95.
Yes. So it's the exact same thing as the 63 is to the 53. The 95, it's exactly the same.
Okay, and the battery backup systems you have, because there's a system that goes on the M98.
Yep.
That is the 508.
Yes,
right?
yes.
It goes on that. Okay.
So the 508 is pretty much
the standard.
Our whole wheelhouse right now. We have a 507, which if you got a crawl space, that's fine for me. I want something that's doing at least 30 some gallons per minute though, and I would just stick with the 508. But we have a couple variations of the 508. So we have the spin and the fit.
Okay.
And the fit has Wi-Fi enabled.
Right.
So you have the communication through the whole program.
Okay.
That's generally what I suggest.
Okay. A lot of people they like to be able to interact with it.
Yeah, and it's a peace of mind.
Right.
It really is. And everyone likes the automated stuff. Mm-hmm. So
what is the flow rate or the gallons per minute on the 508 battery backup pump?
So we're about 35 gallons per minute at 10 foot ahead.
That's not bad at all. See, because I had people who asked me about, well, I'm going to get a water-powered backup pump. Oof. And it's like, okay. And I said, look at the flow rate. Because everyone's like, I don't want to get a battery. I don't have to worry about it. And I get where they're coming from with that. I do. But when you look at the flow rate, this is giving you 20 gallons per minute, if that. Mm-hmm. And you've got one that's giving you 30. It may not seem like a big deal, but when you're watching that water rise on a rain and you're getting nervous because it's about ready to, it's getting a little too close for comfort. Mm-hmm. I want as much, again, you always go big on those, go oversize on it.
When your power's out, it's usually raining.
Yes.
It's worse. I mean, that's the problem with, that juxtaposition there. And the water powered, they're fine, and there's applications for them. Just because of what they pump, I'm not the biggest fan of them.
Right.
We do have one that we offer, but I prefer going with an actual battery-powered pump.
Right. Exactly. Now, I wanted to ask you this. We're going to go on to ejector pumps. Mm-hmm. Now, the popular is the 267, correct?
That's pretty much the standard out there.
And that is the half horsepower ejector pump, durable, 2-inch discharge. Mm-hmm. This is one that we install, same 3-year warranty. Now, what have you got people that want to go crazier with this? I mean, I want a bigger one for my ejector pump. Is that needed?
No, especially if they're not going to go with a bigger basin.
Right.
You got someone, I don't know why they would want to have a bigger pump, but basically in an 18-inch diameter basin, you're moving about a gallon per inch. Mm-hmm. So that switch goes on 8 inches, you're pumping about 8 gallons every time.
Exactly. So that's it. Basically, you really don't need that.
Right.
And I've been asked a lot about this too, and maybe you can tell me. I don't see it. I don't recommend it. It just doesn't seem like it has a point because you can control it. But people have asked battery backups for their ejector pumps.
I mean, there are ways to do it. It's awfully expensive.
Right.
They're looking at about $5,000.
Yeah.
And
I didn't say I do it. I was saying it's like people have asked about it.
Yeah, as mentioned, in most of those cases, if your power is out, you're not using your laundry.
Right.
You can kind of avoid the bathroom. Maybe just don't use the downstairs bathroom while the power's out. Yeah. So there's certain places where maybe someone's living down there, and there's a thing and they want to go and get that, or it's a garden apartment, or you have like your parents or someone's living down in the basement and they need that, where that makes sense. But in most cases, it just doesn't add up for what it costs.
The only way I'd see where you would do anything like that is if it was some sort of the pump was used in sequence or in addition to a flood prevention device.
Mm-hmm, correct. Yeah,
that's where I would say to do that. But even then, you'd probably have yourself a full house generator where it would be doing that to help that.
Yeah, so, almost when you get to those larger pumps.
Yeah.
It's very expensive to have an inverter that'll power them, where a generator actually becomes a much better option.
Exactly. So, I mean, I'm asking you all these questions that I've gotten asked, and a lot of people are, they try to, they're scared. They're scared about having contractors come in. They're scared about not knowing. So, what I'm trying by having you on the show is I'm trying to get information for them from you, from the rep that deals directly with the manufacturer, and getting this information so they have an idea of, okay, I can get this, I can get that. And I'm giving them information as a contractor that, yeah, you can do it, but you might want to maybe go with people in the know, find someone you trust, and have them do it. Get a solid warranty, and then this way you can call them when something happens. Because this is going to happen if there is a failure, God forbid. It's going to happen at the worst time.
It always does.
And they're going to, the person that installed it is going to have the backup ready. They're going to have a replacement ready if there's an issue with it. So you are going to be up and running in no time. Other than that, you're chasing it.
Yeah.
And if you got the wrong application that's not lasting as long, now you're spending good money after bad.
Yep.
And you're cursing the product when it wasn't the product's fault. So, I mean, it's definitely in your best interest as a homeowner to at least get the information that you need so you can ask the right questions when you're getting the right parts, and get the right people that are in the know about what they're installing. And we try to get the best product. And, I mean, the reason why we have the warranties kind of like you is if we put a pump in and this thing fails, I want to know why. What's happening here that this thing is failing? Because I've got to cover it. And if we're finding out that there's getting a ton of water and something's changed, we can find this stuff. Having different eyes in your home is a second set of eyes or third, just depending on who you have coming out. That's crucial because you don't know, because you're seeing it all the time. We're coming in going, okay, that's not normal. Well, it's been doing that since I've been here. That's not normal. It's not supposed to go like that. So, and obviously getting a pump that either will work in that application or solving the problem that is actually causing that, and spending the money instead of buying new pumps. It's kind of like if you have a car your first car that you bought, and, things start to squeak. So you get a radio and your muffler goes, so you get a louder radio. You can actually, instead of doing that, like buying pumps, it's like I'm getting more water, I buy a bigger pump. Instead of figuring out why is my pump going or why am I getting so much water, stop the water and get the right pump.
Yeah.
So get the right information. That's why I asked you to come on. I appreciate you coming on to be able to educate our listeners and give them a ton of information. Now, if they want to do some more research on Zoeller, how do they check them out?
Just the website, www.zoeller.com will take you there. And there is, it's pretty much everything there. You have all your drop down through all your products. There's a bunch of accessory products like high water alarms, battery backup systems, etc.
Excellent.
That can take you through.
And they'll be able to find somebody local in the area to get them.
Yep.
That's fantastic. I want to thank you. You have been great, Mr. Spurney. I appreciate it. And having you on the show has been, like I said, completely informative, and people need to know this. So I want to thank everybody for for listening to the show today. And also remember that Ferguson Supply, head on over there for all your kitchen, bath, lighting, and appliance needs. Your dream kitchen or bathroom is as close as Tinley Park. Also, check out our website for more information on today's guests or previous shows. Or if you want to send us a text or have any comments, shoot us a text over at 708-964-5500.